Laura Catherine? Laura Catherine? This is Caroline Stevens trying to get on.
I think we have to wait till 5:30.
You do. I've opened up the room. This is Lyle Patterson, just waiting on everyone to join, and you can start the meeting at 5:30.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right, well, what do I push to join? Other than, I mean, does the picture just automatically come up?
If you want your camera on, you can turn that on. I don't know how you guys want to handle that.
Oh, well, I don't want to be the only one. I've always, anyway, but is Laura, she hadn't come on yet, has she?
She has not. We only have 3 people in here right now.
You have 3 in your waiting room?
Yes, we got you, Martha Phipps, and Seth. Got a few more. I'll give them another 5 minutes or so.
Well, I guess I feel like I'm going to need some help to get on. So I've tried to undo the video.
There you go.
Oh, good.
You're on.
Am I something? All righty. Well, put me back in the waiting room.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
There. So I can do myself like that. There.
I wonder why I'm not on anymore.
Who's not?
I saw you for a minute, but now I don't see you.
Well, I undid myself because I
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
Who else is going to do video?
Everybody. Okay, can you see me?
No.
How do I punch it so you see my face?
This down at the bottom, you see where it says mute and then it says video on the left-hand side.
Start video.
Uh-huh.
All right, let me see.
Yeah,
here I am.
there we go.
Sorry, I look too good.
No problem. But it looks like we may have the meeting ourselves. But
I think it's getting ready to start. Hey, hold on, I gotta get some.
Martha, did you get an agenda for the meeting?
No.
Me.
No.
5:30 to 7's a long time. Anyway.
Did she send one? I didn't see it.
I didn't either.
Okay. Well, I think usually they start right at 5:30. We're a little early.
Have you picked up an in focus?
Yes.
Did you see Peter?
Yes.
Good. And Gavin?
Yeah, I sure did. That was awesome.
We didn't make it.
I know. What's happening?
Oh,
Hey, good evening. It's Michael Dixon.
oh, good, Michael. Well,
Oh. I just saw Beth for a second.
I don't know what. Always a little hard to get started on these things.
Yep.
Have you all got power and everything?
Yes.
We had, thankfully, we just installed a generator 2 days before this thing hit.
Are you serious?
No,
Oh,
I never thought I'd even see the day to use it. But we have to use it for almost 40 hours.
exactly. Oh, Brad, that's amazing that you did that 2 days before. Did you hear the
There's Jill.
Hi there.
Hey.
Jill?
Hey,
Oh, you're outside. Smart.
I am.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna
nice
go out.
out.
Yeah.
You've got lots of new roses to plant, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I have a lot of new David. Actually, I have new David Austins, and I love those antique garden roses. They've become my new favorite.
Wow.
Yeah. How's everyone else's garden coming?
It's coming along. I
Yeah,
keep adding stuff.
I saw it. Looks so pretty over. Like if you're looking at your house over to the left, I love what you.
Yeah, I did a new garden, so I'm just having more fun playing with it.
I know it's really pretty. How are
Thank
your
you.
peaches? How are your peaches?
They're on there, and I have apples too on an apple tree.
Oh my goodness. Where's that one?
That one's espaliated against the wall on, if you're looking at my house from the road on the left side.
Yeah.
It's a Granny Smith. Tell
Okay.
them what happened to you.
Yen. What's that?
Tell them what all happened to you.
What?
Oh, with the carbon monoxide?
Generator.
Yeah. Lee Company vented our carbon monoxide, our generator, into our crawl space. So we it was when we lost power, the generator was sending it into the house, and the fire department came and woke me up from a sleep that the high levels had lulled me into. It was really quite frightening.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
Brian,
Yeah.
Brian just got one installed. Did you hear that, Brian?
Michael.
Did you hear what happened?
Who did?
It says Brian on your name.
Yeah, well, I'm using another computer in the house.
Oh, okay, that's why.
Yeah, I can be Brian tonight. How about that?
You're gonna confuse us all.
That's it. Just testing.
Hey, this is Gavin.
Hi, Gavin.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Gavin.
It was Peter.
I'm just on here by phone.
Yeah, I'm going to stop my video too. I'm just going to be phone.
Hi, everybody.
Are you bashful?
Hello.
Hello, how's everyone?
Oh,
Oh,
Good. How are you?
Catherine.
Good.
Laura Catherine and Bashful.
See everybody.
well,
Good. Okay. I normally type my notes, but I'm going to have to use paper so that I can see y'all. I'd love to get started. Thank y'all for being flexible with meeting online. We have a few people who have to cut out early. Let's see, I'm looking for Carter. Is she in yet? Carter, are you here?
Laura Catherine, I was wondering if, since we're doing a Zoom meeting, if we could reduce them to an hour.
Yeah, I do not think it's going to go that long at all. I think
Okay.
it'll probably be done in about 45 minutes. But yes,
Oh,
I think
good.
that's a great idea.
Hey, Laura
Um,
Catherine,
Uh-huh.
this is Beth.
Hey, Beth.
These meetings are recorded, so Lyle can send you a recording of the meeting, this evening or in the morning to help you with your minutes.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Sure.
Yeah, great. Okay. So looks like we have Caroline, Martha, Michael, Beth, Jill, Peter, Seth, and Carter. And
Evening.
Lisa and
And
Lyle.
Gavin. And we have Gavin.
Gavin's here.
David, I didn't know who was the phone number. Okay, great.
Wait, Laura Catherine, it's Lisa. I'm here too.
Oh, awesome. Thank you,
Yeah.
Lisa.
I'm going to mute though, okay?
Oh, that's fine.
Thank you.
That's fine. We'll go on and jump in. I am going to share my screen. Okay, can y'all see this?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we had 2 action items. Do you know if Jim is going to join?
I'm not aware, he didn't tell me that he was, so I'm not sure.
Okay, no big deal. So we were going to start we were going to discuss the Belle Meade Living relaunch. I have not talked to Tara Biller, so I'm not sure when they are starting that again. So we're just going to continue to put that on hold. And then the second action item from last month's meeting was that the garden tour subcommittee was going to meet. But since we can't have garden tours, there's no need to have a meeting until we can figure out, when we have a date. So the first thing I want to talk about is fundraising. At our last meeting, the committee signed the letters and they went out the week of March 16th. Y'all should have gotten yours in the mail. Again, we did targeted mailing. If you have given, there's a little bit of background noise. Could y'all put yourself on mute?
I can hardly hear with the background noise.
Yeah, let's see if we can, I think, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so the letters went out the week of March the 16th. They were targeted. We had one letter, if you have given to Society of Series in the past 5 years, that says we invite you to, or we, time to renew your membership is the wording. And then if you have not given, the wording said, we invite you to join. And so we had, right when they went out was when the COVID was sort of picking up speed. And so understandably, our donations are down. As of April the 23rd, we have $46,905 donated. Our total last year was 76,000. So we are 36,000 behind. We did expect a little bit of a downturn. I did not expect that much. We had discussed in our last meeting, perhaps doing a push once things get back to normal, maybe sort of a second fundraising event. I'd like to hear what y'all think about that.
You
Is
said
that to date? Is that a year-to-date comparison, Laura Catherine?
It is, it's end of year, but the majority of our donations came in by June. So we're really just one off. I did not have time to do the date-to-date comparisons. We also sent out our letters a month earlier this year than we did last year. So they're sort of true to the amount of time the letters have been out. But yes, we had some stragglers come in, maybe 2 or 3 a month, maybe I'd say $500 tops a month after September, October, November, December. So that would account for a couple thousand, but certainly not this level.
Yeah, so I think the shock and awe of all this probably caused people to pull back. And I think we should maybe in another 60 days, maybe even as much as 90 days, find a way to communicate again. I think a lot of them will probably come back and maybe even make a second donation. Things are better than what we thought, or, catch some of those people that were afraid or too caught up in the moment.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So this was something that Jim Hunt threw out last week, and I have not responded, but he suggested, he just said, since we're all home and we're all looking at our houses and our yards and our mailboxes, that Ceres could do a mailbox cleanup campaign, that we would clean people's mailboxes with Windex and Lysol wipes or whatever, and kind of get the pollen off it for a $50 donation. I'm not sure if that's something we want to do. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
What about replacing a mailbox?
Mine needs replacing. I'll be the first one to sign up for that.
I'll be the first one.
Oh, we're gonna have to move ours. Everybody keeps hitting ours.
Oh,
So are you talking about having somebody do this? Who would do the cleaning?
Jim was suggesting we do the cleaning.
I don't think the cleaning of the mailbox is a great. I think we can come up with something better.
I think
Yeah,
so too. I think that
I'd
kinda
rather
sounds
plant
like,
flowers, like plant
I
a
love
vine around the
flowers.
mailbox or something.
I mean, that's a much
I like
better
that.
idea. Mhm.
Yeah, everybody gets a clematis.
Right. I like that. And they have to water it, and a watering reminder.
Yeah, we're not gonna clean it up for them.
Well, I was thinking it sort of sounds like, a child's lemonade stand, something we could get children to volunteer, but I don't think a lot of us have young children to volunteer. So, but I love the idea of selling plants.
Selling.
Well, not selling them, that we
But planting
plant them. Yeah. Well, I guess it would be both, right?
I was
For
gonna
their
say,
mailboxes?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. What does everyone think?
I think that's a good idea. I do.
Yeah, I like it.
Great. All right, we're gonna need some volunteers, so we'll get out there and plant with us.
I'll do it. I'll help.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Okay,
I'll help.
wonderful. Great. Okay, I love that idea. I will reach out to Creekside and see if we can get a good deal on some. And then, Beth, would we be able to use the city's tax-free status? Beth,
I'm sorry, I was muted.
no worries.
To purchase the plantings,
Mm-hmm.
you should be, yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. All right, great. I love that idea.
And maybe you give them a choice of, a clematis or just like a little
Like a Mandeville.
annual around the base. They have a choice.
There, I
If
think
people
that's
might
really
not want a
good.
vine or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you have a
Could
choice
be
of like,
different levels too.
yeah, like a
That's
little,
good idea.
a little small flat of annuals doesn't cost much at all. You can get that pretty cheap.
Okay. That's a
Maybe
great
there's
idea.
different levels that you could go. Maybe
The
one is a
clematis level,
vine,
and and you call it by whatever.
and then the next one would be clematis plus some plantings.
Okay, what'd you say the first level was?
Clematis.
Or
Clematis.
I would do the first level as just as annual, like just a little annual something around the base of the mailbox.
I
So I
think
think that's
so
the
too.
cheapest.
Okay.
I think you
and
start you have an annual membership, and then you have a clematis membership or whatever, and that gets you a clematis on, and then you've got a
I love
you
that.
kinda keep
Okay.
going.
Let's talk prices. What would we like to charge for the annual? Do you think $50? For a $50 donation, we'll plan annuals for for
I think it needs
75.
to
we
be
get
more
some
than
members.
that. If they're gonna get,
I think it's more.
yard, it needs to be a
Okay.
lot more than
And we're
Okay.
planting it. Maybe 75 or 100?
Okay.
Yeah.
that. I
All right,
would
what do
say
you think?
100.
Okay.
We got to
100.
water it.
And then what do you
They
think
have
for
to sign the
clematis?
waiver.
What waiver if
Yes.
they don't like it?
Well,
Yeah.
that they're going to water it.
And they can't be picky about the colors.
I was gonna say, well, we
Well,
probably
and
need to do something like just a white.
I'm
I
gonna
will
tell
be.
you-
I will.
No.
We are opening ourselves up to a.
I will tell you, people get weird about this because I was
Yes.
involved with the Harding Academy with the Christmas mailboxes, and people would call at like 11 o'clock at night and complain that like a piece of magnolia fell out of their mailbox and want you to come fix it.
That's good.
Not kidding. Not kidding. So they'll be
I-
like, well, what if mine died? You need to come replace it.
That's
And it's
good.
gonna happen. You're gonna have those people.
And then
So
they want you to come undecorated.
Yes, and they want you to come on to it. So like when one inpatient dies, they're gonna want us to come replace it, or I don't know. You just have to realize they're those kooks. So maybe like when we do it, like, hey, there is no guarantee of it living unless you take care of it. And
Well, maybe we don't
we're
want to
done.
do the annuals. Maybe just the clematis and then a rose level or something.
Yep.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking about the clematis, it is a perennial, so it comes back every year. Do we want something that makes them do it every year? Like,
That's true.
it doesn't
Like
come back.
Amanda that
You
has
do
to be done
Mandeville
every
or
year.
something, yeah. That they don't get it next year for a one-time donation. I'm just saying.
Well, is this something we want to continue every year, or is this something just for COVID?
Well, maybe we should just see how it goes.
Yeah.
We might
Yeah.
get 2 people.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then we
well,
might get 200 and be going, what?
What if we committed to ourselves to? Yeah.
right. Right. We're all home. We've got time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So back to let's talk about. So the annual would be around would be $100, or we could and then the clematis. Do we want clematis, or do we want another annual like a Medavilla?
I like clematis.
I like
And
clematis
it's
better personally.
sustainability. I like the sustainability
Yeah.
aspect
Well,
of it.
and if we're going to focus
There
on
we go.
that, okay, what do you think the donation should be for clematis? Would that be 200 or would that be 150?
200.
Okay.
Are we
Wow,
talking
that's
Armanda,
expensive.
which is an evergreen? Are we talking in
What?
the Armanda, or are we talking about the annual clematis?
I think we're talking the annual that
Deciduous.
blooms in the summer.
Well, just there's deciduous and then the evergreen, which is the Armanda clematis.
Well, the deciduous, I think we're thinking of, right?
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that
Maybe
it comes back every year.
the evergreen could be more expensive then.
Are people going to know the difference?
No.
When it's green in the winter.
When it dies, they will.
Yeah.
We're going to get calls. Come replace the clematis.
I thought I was giving the evergreen.
You know, that's up to y'all. What do you think?
Well, I don't know the name of it, but I've seen them on people's mailboxes, and they're the big, white, beautiful clematis, but I don't know what the variety is.
Oh, there's a big clematis and there's a little clematis with the blooms.
Well, no, I just mean it takes off and it has big white blooms.
I don't know the name of it.
Gavin, do you know what that one is?
You know, there's so many different ones. I'm familiar with the purple passion, and
Nellie Moser or
there's
something.
I
How
can
will
look it up.
clematis do in shade for those who are like, have a shaded mailbox?
They like shaded feet.
I was going to say the
Yeah,
clematis.
the evergreen.
Yeah.
So it should
The
do okay
evergreen
in
takes
both
a lot of shade.
situations? Okay.
Well, they like sun up top and shade on their feet.
Somebody knowledgeable ought to go to Creekside and figure out what they have and can get and what the price is. And then we just have a formula, whether it be, double a retail or whatever, because that's usually how it works if you're having something planted. And then we do need to do it right, whatever that is. But, I think we need to know what we're dealing with. What is the cost to us? What would be the retail cost so that it's attractive to people? And then usually it's like double or something to plant it and do all and keep it
Well,
simple.
and then we're supposed to make money off of this. We can't, I mean,
Right.
you don't want to.
Well, that's why I was saying double. In other words, if it costs us $25, but the retail's $35, I wouldn't think that any less than $70,
Yeah.
Well, wait, we have to work the soil too. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
This
I
might be a
agree
big
with you on
endeavor.
that. If you're going to say you're going to do that, that to me is worth something, because if I were going to do it, I'd want you to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal. Is this a plant sale or is this just a gift because you gave some money?
No,
So-
there you go. That's a good point.
I
You
think
know,
this
like
is-
if we're doing this as a plant sale, then it really should just be like a double the cost, that kind of thing. If we're looking that this is just a thank you for giving to the Series Society,
Sky's the
then
limit.
then we ask for more money.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it's
Make
just
this
a
the
thank you.
fundraiser.
Then
Yeah.
you're not going to plant.
Yeah.
Maybe don't get into the planting part of it, because that's where it gets dicey, frankly. Because if they don't have amended soil, and I mean, you could.
You didn't plan it right.
Rocky.
There are too many variables. You're gonna have.
I can't see people going out and watering their mailbox. If otherwise, they'd already have something around their mailbox.
Well,
Well,
I've always
so-
thought about one, and I have irrigation. I thought, well, I might do it. It might be pretty if they were pretty plants. That's the key to it.
All right.
Well,
Well,
then
we'll
how about we
plant it.
just do the plant and not the planting
That's what I'm
as a
thinking
thank
about.
you?
And really focus on getting a high quality choice of plants, and do what you said. That way, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I definitely think the focus should be that this is fundraising and we're giving you a plant as a thank you.
Yeah.
So we can do double retail plus
Then
some,
I would just do the plant, because I myself would think that's a great deal, and I would plant it.
Yeah, okay. I would too. Okay. So I still like the levels of
Yeah.
levels of giving. Do we want to do an annual? Do we want a clematis? Do we want something bigger? Like a tree? I mean, it doesn't have to be for the mailbox.
Is this just to point people back to the annual giving opportunity, or is this a
Yeah.
separate drive?
This is to point people back to the annual giving opportunity.
So this is, we send a letter out to everyone that's already made a donation,
That's all right.
right? Or-
That's what we have.
or-
It's up to y'all.
I think you
Okay,
have to be
got it.
careful, because if we say like, oh, this is for the annual thing, like, well, gosh, if I had known that, I wouldn't have given last month. Are people going to come back and be, we have to be specific. Like, if you give between this date and this date, you get
Yeah.
X, and make it
Yeah.
definitive, because otherwise then it becomes, well, I want my plan I gave in January,
Okay, so it'll be a finite amount of time. When you give this time, just a final push.
Yeah, I think that's good. Like NPR does for their things,
Exactly.
And if you already gave, too bad. Give again. We'll
But I would be willing to plant it, Laura Catherine, if that would raise a lot more money.
I would enjoy.
Because that would be, right? And it's part of our
Well, how about an
beautification
extra
mission.
$100? We'll plan it for you.
There you go. That's a good. Now that's a good. That way they might not.
Yeah.
That's a really great idea.
Okay.
And this way we can beautify, and we can also teach about soil preparation if they want to learn, We can join that to the educational piece.
That's great.
You got it.
I
I
like
think
that.
that's a great idea.
Great. Okay.
From a premium, somehow or another pricing thing that you get it planted and properly planted. But make them pay for that. I wouldn't think anything about
Yeah.
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Great. Okay. So I will reach out to Creekside. Gavin sent
But we didn't get our levels. We're just gonna have an
like
annual
clematis.
level.
Okay. So all right. So annual levels, we're thinking about 100, and clematis is 200. Do you think that's enough? Do you think we need another level with something bigger?
Why don't we just try with this and see what?
Okay.
I like
That's
that.
enough with plant for an addition 100. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's not overthink it too much in the beginning.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, great. Okay, well then let's move on. Gavin, could you give us an update on the tree ordinance, please?
Yeah. I think Lyle is, we're still trying to get it into the works with the planning commission. Beth, do you know if that's on for this month? I don't think the planning commission is meeting this month, or the commissioners.
Not. It's up for second and final reading at the commissioners meeting this month. We've had it on the website now for 60 days for public comment, and we've gotten a few comments that we've incorporated into the wording for second reading. But if it passes, then it's done.
Great.
So
Great.
then
The
next
planning
step-
commission, which planning commission is working with?
Commissioners meeting. I'm sorry, the city commissioners.
yes,
I think.
the city commissioners, because
Okay.
so once, if they approve it at the May 20th meeting, then it becomes law 10 days after it's passed, and then it's on the staff to enforce it. So we'll have to do a lot of public outreach and communication, more than we've done so far, but it shouldn't be a surprise to a lot of people. It's been in the newsletter quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think communication is going to really be essential.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that update. So next we have the master plan. So in our last meeting at City Hall, we laid out the map of the city, and we did our overlay, and we identified the 5 places that we were going to focus on. The first is the entrance to Belle Meade Boulevard from Harding Pike, because that is the entrance to our city. The second is Harding Pike across from City Hall, and then also bordering Post Road, so on the other side of Harding Pike. The third was Deer Park, Pluckett Park. The fourth was the Page Road lot, and the fifth is the entrance to Belle Meade at Jackson Boulevard. So what we need to do is start working on this master plan. And so in the last meeting, most everyone expressed a willingness to be involved in this. What I'm thinking is we can either take half of the meeting time that we normally meet for series and put that towards, dedicate that to the master plan, or we can meet on the off months that series does not meet. Since we are every other month, we can have a master plan that meets in the off months, because right now we don't have any subcommittees meeting, and then we'll give an update at the big meetings. Do y'all have a preference one way or the other?
I think that's a good idea on the off month.
Okay.
Me too.
Well,
It just kind of all fell apart, right at that time.
Yeah.
It absolutely did. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Can we talk for a second about what y'all think a master plan is? Because the master plan is a schematic document rendered by a professional landscape architect. We are not landscape architects. We're not garden designers.
Well, there's
Someone
one.
here is.
Gavin is.
Yeah.
I'm a landscape architect.
Okay, so if we were to make the decision to engage Gavin, or by extension Paige Duke, pro bono, or to, pay them for services rendered, what's the goal here? Is this a full-blown master plan? And if so, then it should be just the work of this committee would be to establish the goals to be achieved by that master plan. We're not going to, tell me if I'm wrong, but is otherwise the proposition to sit around as a group and design the landscape enhancements for each one of these parks? Because I don't see that working very well.
I know last time we met, we had some interesting ideas, and we sort of sectored off the different sort of areas of the city that we'd like to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would probably be good to have a charrette series, even if we have to do it Zoom, and have a plan that we can all access online, and at least have a direction. And I don't mind leading some of that with help to kind of figure out some of the things we talked about being maybe in some of these being more, maybe we do have a meadow area. And then I think before this all fell apart, I was going to try to get with Mike Berkeley at Grow Wild and get some help from him, and maybe engage his ideas as well. And he would be one that would supply some of the, some of the goods for that as well.
He would be very interested.
Yeah, and I think we have. We've got all the plans that I scanned. I think Beth had given me a bunch of plans that we've already got scanned and in the archives that we can. have a
do. They're
base
in the,
plan?
sorry, Gavin, I didn't want to interrupt. They are all available right now to everyone who has access to the Google Drive, which is all the committee members and the Board of Commissioners.
Right.
You know what? I need to add Lyle to that.
Is that in a link that you've sent to us in the past, correct?
It is, and I will,
Okay.
it's also, I believe that it is in our agenda worksheet.
Okay.
If not, I will add it.
So, Gavin, what do you see as the design? What do you see as the actual, the tangible deliverable from this study? Is it a planting plan, or is it just a, you know, illustrative schematic that kind of demonstrates intent? Like what?
No, the level that I sort of perceive this being is that we sort of designated some of the areas, and I think it would be a matter of, you know, getting with someone like Mike Berkeley, and maybe even meeting at 6 feet apart in some of these areas to talk it out with him and see the exposure of light, see what we're doing, and then come up with a plan that we can, you know, put on a diagram that we could actually send out to bid or you know, volunteer work. You know, I mean, the whole thing with the whole Highline, it's that whole organization is made of volunteers. I mean, I know they had the initial planting that they did, but a lot of the maintenance is volunteers. Did that help kind of, I mean, I think we would have a plan that would sort of be in these different sectors that we've established. And then we would, these would be perennial plantings that would develop over, you know, anywhere from 3 to 4 years.
May I make a
Thoughts,
suggestion?
anyone?
And maybe rename master plan, since it may not fall under the same guise as a true master plan.
Right.
This is an enhancement strategy.
Yeah. And instead of calling it a master plan, maybe, I don't know.
Enhancement.
Well, I think the fact is we can come in and pay, you know, if we need to get to the point, you know, if we can get it as far as we can ourselves, I think it would be
Yes.
helpful. And then if we kind of get where, all right, we need somebody to draw out definitive like planting plans so somebody can install and take what we, you know, as far as we can get and take it from there to do something that actually becomes concrete for installation plans, we can take that step when we need to. But I mean, if we can go as far as we can on our own, let's go for it.
Yeah, I think it's part of the process. I think we're going to be learning in this process and see how far we can get, and you know, more than willing to help out as much as we can, for sure.
So Gavin, this is Michael Dixon. Just to clarify, since our last meeting,
I think
we had these areas picked out, and what I was curious, so this would be if you were a private homeowner, you had these 5 areas and you would be maybe getting a consult to say, look, I want to upgrade or enhance my landscape, and these are the areas that I want to do, but I want to make sure that, you know, the other ones are going to get done so that we keep some consistency, but we maybe would start with one, and what are your ideas, or given the fact we want to do the others, or how would you go about it? Is it literally a consult?
Oh, for my part, or
well, no, for
just
whoever's going to guide us through it. I mean, if I were having you, yeah, I would be asking you that question. I'd say, look, you were referred to me by blah blah blah. You know, I'd say, show me some of your work and help get connected to the person or persons that are going to help us do this. I can't say committee.
sure.
I think we need probably to have a
I'm
professional
confused.
with our input. I
Yeah,
like,
and I think that's where, the Mike Berkeley would be able to help us tremendously in that arena. And I think he is, someone that we would at least initially start with that. And I need to make sure the group is behind it. And then I would be glad to have that conversation with him to say, hey, here's the direction we're talking about. What is your thoughts on this? And would you be willing to meet the people in the committee? And then we come up with recommendations to bring back, like if the off month, and then we'll come back in the next month with our recommendations to the whole group.
I think you need to, I think while there is a definite interest among this group in native plants and featuring native plants in the landscape, Grow Wild, Pete Udoff, Highline, that's all great. I love native plants. It looks very different than the established aesthetic on Belle Meade Boulevard. And I would advise you to make sure that, the community at large in Belle Meade kind of understands what that looks like, and make sure that that's something that they want. It's also a much different level of maintenance. And so, for example, LSI is not going to have the first clue how to maintain, a very dynamic, native perennial border, nuanced throughout the city.
That's a good point.
Just to clarify, I don't think it'll all be natives. I think there'll be some other varieties that'll be in there that won't be native just to, just our community. I would see it as being more perennials than just native. There will be native plants in there, but I think there's a lot of perennials that we can benefit from that are not necessarily natives.
The park at the corner of Hillsborough and Tyne has really had its problems.
The Buffalo Park?
Yes, the Buffalo Park. They finally have figured out how to just let it grow and do, and anyway, but I don't think that's the look that the Belle Meade residents are gonna
embrace.
There's also the possibility of Palmer Park coming into this. If y'all remember from last month, nothing is concrete. It is all up in the air. It's why it's not on the agenda or it's why it's not in the minutes, because it's not official yet and it's not really something we want to put in our records. But that is a potential area of focus as well for us to think about.
This would be a great starting place to meet with this gentleman and figure out what we don't know and what we do know. And then we get back together and figure out where to go from there. Start.
I think that would
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think there are sections that, I think we're right in that Belle Meade does require a level of, refinement to the plantings that the residents expect.
Yep.
Not just a meadow. I think a lot of people would think that we've just let the grass grow, or I don't know, they don't get it. But there are places for that, like closer to Warner Park. Like I love the idea of that. You can kind of get a little wilder the closer you get to the park, and a little more manicured as you get away from the park. And there are ways to kind of have this transition through the city where there's continuity, but at the same time, the refinement that I think the city residents are going to want. And I think that's just, as we talk it through, we can kind of define that level a little better.
I think the thing here
Yeah,
is we don't need to, we don't have to have everything figured out right this moment. This is in the very, very early stages. We have
Right.
been calling it a master plan. It's not truly a master plan. We can come up with a better name. I think what we need to do is to focus on what our immediate steps are. And once we, and I think we've sort of defined that we need to know what we need to know. And so that's our first step, is defining where we are, what do we have. You know, we took a big chunk out of it last month with defining where we wanted to focus, what the series want to be known for. And so now that we've got these areas, we need to say, okay, let's meet with someone, whether it's Gavin and Mike or whomever, and just say, okay, let's discuss, you know, his plans or ideas or just possibilities, and then come together and say, okay, this is what was discussed, this is what was suggested, where do we want to go from here?
Sounds like a great idea. Do we have a committee that of members that I mean, Laura Catherine, do you have that list of people that wanted to be on that sort of engagement?
It was actually everyone who was at the meeting the last time. If there's anybody, so sort of de facto, you're on the committee if you're on our committee. If you want to be excluded from it, how about just email me and I'll take your name off the list.
Hi, this is Lisa.
Cool.
I'm just weighing in here. Can you hear Lisa?
Yes, we
Yeah.
sure can.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's not lose that impulse that we had at the last meeting about that people were very excited about adding an element of Belle Meade identity to this, and kind of unifying the community physically with all these different locations having some consistency and identity. We just, you know, we talked about, you want to know that, oh, I'm in Belle Meade now because it has this look that's so fabulous. Let's just, didn't want to lose that. So maybe add identity and community, unity, just that there was a lot of excitement last time about that. I thought, looking at the maps and where we could make an impact.
Thank you, Lisa.
And I guess I'm wondering also about what we do about the things that have been damaged. I mean, there has been a lot of severe topping and just some things that have happened to some of the trees that for the long term, you know, how do we address those?
Yeah, I just noticed on Belle Meade Boulevard last night walking the dog that there was quite a bit of topping along the power lines. The dogwoods look appropriate under those lines, but there are some that have been planted that were, you know, the scale of them was not considered.
Well, and I've been working with Larry Smith on that. We've identified a lot of the trees, especially the cedar ones, have got to be replaced eventually anyway. And so as they die, as they need to be replaced, we're choosing to replace with smaller trees, you know, for a lower canopy, so that we don't have this, you know, where it looks like LSI just came in and chopped off the top.
Well, they did.
And then, but also, so Louise, I'm blanking on her name. Brian, thank you. My tap dance teacher growing up was Louise Bearden, and I always want to call her Louise Bearden. Louise Bryan has some great ideas as well about her focus as vice mayor has been to work on this area of Belle Meade identity, community, unity, just what we were saying, walkability as well, and then the focus of the median. And so she's really been gathering ideas on what we can do to help the median, because there are parts of it that are beautiful, but then you have a tree that's been, you know, basically cut in half, and that's not real great. And so I know she would like to be involved with that as well, or to meet with us at least once and just sort of I'd like to hear her ideas, because she has spent quite a bit of time sort of pouring into this already. So we can marry these efforts, I think.
Well, could we tie service into that? Because that could bring in people with, you know, Gavin, your idea about the community helps to maintain some of these areas.
So we
the
discussed
unity
that
through
last
service.
time. like a model similar to Highlines. I think
Like have
that's certainly
service
something
be
to
a value
discuss.
possibly
Mhm.
too.
Yeah, and we also have a lot of Boy Scouts that would like to have projects as well. I don't know how that works, Beth, with the city, but if that's a possibility, they're looking to gain merit for some of their things.
I meant our residents. I meant the residents coming together, and I mean, I think
Sure.
that breeds more unity than anything else. Serving each
I
other.
like the idea of both.
Yeah.
I agree. A volunteer gardener society that a series gardener society that comes and does volunteer time on the weekends to and it's not the whole median stretch. That'd be overwhelming. You have to pick sections that are going to be managed by volunteers. That's maybe the perennial section or whatever. Different areas that has to be small enough scale that people aren't overwhelmed and intimidated by it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be a wonderful community builder.
So we don't really have the Boulevard median on there. Is there a reason for that?
I think somebody's typing.
Yeah,
Be a little
someone's
background noise.
Not me.
Wow. There we go. Okay, Carter, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying that we don't mention the Boulevard median. And, when you're talking about that, I always feel like a tree goes down, they just plant one, but that's a place where you really would like to have some sort of design plan so that we're not just, okay, this tree died and we're going to throw what's on sale in or something. In other words, we're working towards something over time.
I agree. I also think it's a big image problem to see the trees topped and still standing. Of course, I don't want to cut down any tree, but it looks like the city doesn't know what's going on, with these hacked off trees.
No,
I think there's a process where they're going to replace the lights at some point. Is that right, Beth? With the existing lights that are there.
Right. They don't manufacture the lights and the mast arms that we have now. So we're going to have to pick out something a little different. But, in defense of the city, NES, 30 plus years ago when Carolyn Sarter planted the boulevard, NES had no program for topping trees. People could plant anywhere they wanted under power lines and they just let it happen. And then eventually they realized it's a nationwide thing with electrical utilities. You can't have trees growing in the power lines. The two don't mix. So they were coming in and topping our trees on the medians and on the right-of-ways every year. And then we at least got the medians back and said, we'll top them ourselves and try to shape them up a little bit rather than just have them butcher them. But some of these trees, they're a lost cause. I mean, they're just...
Beth, I think I was looking at them and I've seen some horrible jobs. Whoever did that did a good job considering what they had to do.
Well, it was the park company that did it last year. I mean, they tried as best they could to shape them and not just cut the V out of the center and so forth. But I mean, there's trees there that are just, 30 close to 40 years old that they're too big and they've been chopped up. They just need to be replaced.
So getting back to my point, rather than just replacing it, just seems to me if you need a plan,
right,
and that's the most visible thing is the boulevard. It's Belle Meade Boulevard, and to have an idea about, especially if you're getting ready to do the lights, to me that and the entrance probably. But we do need to think about the other things and have a plan. But that you talk about impact, and I bet you I'd love to hear somebody talk to us about what could be done. I think it would be great.
Well, I think it would be great as a group if I know we all don't want to run 5 miles, but, it'd be great to start at the beginning of the boulevard and walk, or either at least try to hike the whole with the plan and look at some of these things and maybe even come up with some ideas, as our initial start to this thing.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, when you walk the space, a lot of ideas will flow.
Mm-hmm.
And
then there's some areas that are kind of dangerous with some,
yes,
trees that do need to be limbed up and visibility, and we kind of
visibility. Yeah.
You can see where some places could use some things that visibility might be, it might be a little bit higher, but then maybe there's some things we want to plant low that could be in, some areas of where you're having those complications.
So would you, and I'm throwing this out to the committee, would y'all prefer to meet? And I think we could walk the median. Maybe we break it down into 2 sections if walking 5 miles is too much, but we will, we'll be stopping and discussing each median. Would y'all like to walk it first with just us, or would you like to have Mike Berkeley come in first and then we walk the median after hearing from him?
It might be good if we do our homework first and just kind of get familiar with it and walk the whole thing, and then have notes and be able to have a discussion.
Okay. I'll organize a walk for our committee. Would y'all do you think we can do it in one time, or do you think about time limiting as well, because we're going to pause and talk? Do you think breaking it down into 2, halfway through, or break it into thirds? What do you prefer?
We could probably break it into thirds, or because you may be overwhelmed if we try to do it, and get a lot of ideas within half of it. You might have to do it in fourths.
Mm-hmm.
And you're walking
to be able to
twice.
Concentrate. What's that?
I said you're walking twice. If we are socially distancing still, you're going to get in one car, you're going to park it, you're going to walk it, then you have to get back to your car.
That's just true.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll do it in fourths. Okay. I will set that up. We still are under, the social distancing. So if I'm not mistaken, and Beth, you might need to help me with this, phase 1 started today. And that is
right in Davidson County.
Okay. What about the city?
We're following Davidson County's model. Now, we haven't opened up City Hall yet because we're still waiting on some PPE equipment and thermometers and so forth. But, the club, I saw it sent an email out Saturday, I think, saying they were opening up. I haven't heard the plantation, but we're basically following Metro Nashville's policy.
So with our group, would it be safe to say, so if I'm not mistaken, again, each phase is 2 weeks long. So we would be able to possibly meet in 2 weeks. That would be phase 2.
Meet together as a group?
To walk, yes, to walk the boulevard.
I think you're still going to have to keep social distancing, even if you're, you can't have groups of 10 or more under Nashville's policy.
But I was thinking phase 2 was 10 or more.
Well, that's more than, we've got more members than just 10.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I think we're still limited these right now in phase 1. But once phase 2 hits, I believe that we would fall into that category, that we would be able to meet.
I haven't the documentation in front of me as far as phase 2. I think you're still going to have to wear masks and social distance. I mean, that's going to go on until the new cases go down dramatically.
Okay. I will do some research on that, and as soon as we can plan a walk, I will plan it. How's that? I'll reach out to Jim and figure that out. Because we are a city committee, it's imperative that we follow the guidelines that the city has set out.
Right. I can get that information for you, Laura Catherine. I don't have it in front of me now, but I'll get it and we'll talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Okay. I think we've done some great discussion here. I'm really excited about this enhancement strategy, whatever we're going to call it. I love the idea of walking the boulevard. I think that will be a great opportunity for all of us. We'll move forward on that. Gavin, I don't know Mike Berkeley's availability. If we need him to meet, for our next meeting in 2 months, do we need to engage him now? Is he pretty easy to schedule? I mean,
let me try to reach out to him, and then I'll circle back to you.
Okay, wonderful.
I just kind of, after this whole thing went down, I just sort of it was resting.
Mhm. And I think that's wise. We couldn't have met with him anyway. So, okay, so if you'll reach out to him and just find out his availability, Beth and I will research when we can meet together and walk the boulevard. And I'll also work to figure out some natural divisions, on where we can, breaking down how far we'll walk each time. And we'll follow up with that information. So are there any other items that anybody would like to discuss?
Did
Peter?
I hear you say there were some plans that have already been made and that you have a sheet?
Those are historical plans, the original plans from the original architect, and then they were redone or revisited in the 90s, I believe.
I think
They were
Hobson and
all,
Douglas did the.
so we had them at, remember the first 6 months that we met, they were always on my dining room table to review.
All right, I did not take them in. I would like to look at that and.
Okay, they are online in our Google Drive. So when I send the minutes out, there'll be a link to it. If you'd like to see them in person, they are physically at City Hall, and of course they'd be a lot bigger. So either way.
That's my responsibility. I'll do that.
Okay. And then Peter, did you have something else to say?
Well, I see the landscape plans for the boulevard. Do we have any plans, any graphical or schematic representation for these other areas that we've identified as priorities?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
There was a land that we had at the meeting, right? What happened to the plan we had
I have that.
that we marked up?
So what that is a map of the city with an overlay that we've identified the areas we want to. Peter, we don't have anything historic. No, I have the map. We identifying our areas that we said we'd like to focus on. I'd love to scan that in and put that on the drive as well. Gavin, I can give that to you. It's basically vellum that's just taped onto the map.
Yeah.
And then we
But
can
I can scan that if you need me to.
Okay, that'd be great.
Beth, does the city have any survey data that we could, that we would be able to find any of this in?
I think that's what I have on the Google Drive, right? Is that, Scott Cherry did all the survey for 2002 is the last time, and I'm looking at those right now. There's several sheets of the boulevard. I'm not sure about those other little areas though.
All I see is the one Hodgson and Douglas PDF. Is there something else? Is there something I'm missing on
there's a Carolyn Sauter one that was done back in looks like 88.
Where is all of that on
I was thinking that we downloaded that as well.
Whatever we had, I have downloaded. 1 second. Let me see here.
All right. Well,
but yes, I'm not sure if those other areas are surveyed though. Those other little pocket parks. Is that what you're asking, Peter?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if those other little pocket parks are. We have just a main survey of the boulevard.
Of the boulevard. Beth, do you have a budget that we could activate to capture some basic survey data for these areas so we could put something on, on a plan and kind of go from there?
No, we haven't budgeted anything for that at this point. That would have to be a budget amendment. And we're almost at the end of this current fiscal year by June 30th. So it may have to come from the Beautification Fund.
Okay.
Depending on how much it's going to be. I wouldn't want to drain your account doing a survey for sure, when you've got so many other great plans. It's something we'll have to look at, the number of other little pockets and plantings that we've got, and how much it would, we'd have to get an estimate to see how much it would cost to survey all of those areas.
Yeah.
And then possibly could do a budget amendment to the current budget or the future one that's going to be approved beginning July 1st.
How does that go out to bid? Is that a free, I mean, is it actively bid, or do you just choose a surveyor and have it surveyed?
No, I mean, if our purchasing law is governed by the state, if it's between $1,000 and $10,000, we need to get 3 estimates, and the commissioners have to approve. If it's over $10,000, then it's a sealed bid. So it's a pretty tight process that we can't deviate from.
If each park was $900, we could do them at separate times.
Maybe separate times, not one after the other. Really?
Just thinking.
I know.
Hey, Laura Catherine,
Yes.
it's Lyle.
Hey, Lyle.
I was talking to Tara Billings last week on a separate matter, and she mentioned to me that the launch date would be in August.
Great. So Jim was going to ask Tara if the series committee could have the first cover when we come back with our new logo, and sort of a feature on what we're doing. Do you know if he's talked to her about that?
I have no idea.
Okay, I'll follow up with him. We would love to continue that relationship of articles and promotions with their magazine. So, and if we could get the cover, that would be amazing. Okay, thanks, Lyle. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
I would like for you to spell my name correctly.
Oh, do I have it wrong? Oh, Caroline, that is from the very first month when I didn't know your name. I've corrected it. My apologies. I will make sure it's corrected on all the other. I thought that I had gone through and corrected it all, but apparently I haven't. Forgive me for that.
It's not a big thing, is it?
Well, it is. Okay, anything else? Okay, well, we're right at 1 hour, so great timing. Y'all, I really appreciate meeting. You know, it's a little different with the Zoom and all that, but I think it's a format that'll work, and hopefully by the next time we meet, we can do it in person. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for great discussion, and I'll send out the minutes later this week.
One more thing. I
Yes.
think everybody needs to be sure that at the In Focus, our committee is very much represented in the new issue of In Focus.
Oh,
Great.
where do you get it?
Go to get your clothes clean. Go to the drugstore.
Leave the house.
Scary.
Thanks, Laura Catherine.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks, Bob.
Bye.